to a fresh episode of the program, Last Week in Nigeria. It's a program that brings you all the stories as reported by national dailies last week in Nigeria. Your one-stop shop news portal for all the stories that happened last week in Nigeria. My name is Emmanuel Oriyo. Don't forget you can follow us on all our social media handles using @LastWeekInNigeria on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel using @LastWeekInNigeria. Once again, welcome. Let's begin on a business note as we look at what the business day is offering us in terms of what the CBN is saying concerning the recapitalization of banks in Nigeria. Guess what? About 13 banks will need over 3 trillion naira to be able to meet up with the recapitalization new CBN policy. And that's reported by the Business Day newspaper. And it captions it this way: 13 banks need 3.3 trillion naira to meet CBN threshold. That's the way the Business Day newspaper puts it. And that was reported last week in Nigeria. The Punch newspaper has this one, and that has to do with the Easter celebration. And governors, senators beg Nigerians, says hardship will be over soon. That's the way the Punch newspaper captions it on the banner headline for last week in Nigeria of the Punch newspaper. And this one from the First News, it says, our leader look like men in drunken stupor status. That's a statement credited to Bishop Kuka. Bishop Martins Kuka is saying that our leaders looks like they're drunk or they are in a drunken state. I don't know what that means. If you understand what that means, girl, you get to process it for yourself. Well, it's still last week in Nigeria, and we're looking at stories that made headlines as reported by national dailies last week. Also last week, we had this news. At Easter, Kuka Atiku called for national healing. Of course, the Easter celebration, to God be the glory, was celebrated without any reportage of any negativity. So we are also looking forward to the Eid al-Fitr, which is loading up. And of course, celebration will be after the holy month of Ramadan by our Muslim brothers and faithful. So we wish them happy Eid al-Fitr in advance. Last week in Nigeria, in its dramatic way of advertising via the national dailies every Monday, yes, that has been the trend we've observed right here on Last Week in Nigeria production. And we discovered that every Monday since the primary of the state governorship seat for the All Progressives Congress, APC, started loading, we get to see one of the aspirants, talking about Senator Jimoh Ibrahim, loading the front pages of the national dailies every Monday morning. That must be running into millions. Of course, he's a billionaire anyway. But well, last week, the version that caught my attention and the crew was that he showcased his certificates, telling you that a man who has 9 degrees is a man that is best for that particular seat. I don't know how those degrees would turn around the story for him in his favor. But well, guess what? The 20th of April is the D-Day for the primaries of the All Progressives Congress in Ondo State, and the clock is ticking. We've got days now. We've been having the countdown session to that particular primaries. All eyes on Ondo State as regards the primaries of the All Progressives Congress. Unfortunately, we've not been hearing so much from the opposition party, talking about the PDP, SDP, Labour Party, among other parties that are also going into the election in November 2024. But first, we're hoping that the primaries will go smoothly. But after the primaries, we don't know what will be happening because there will be a lot of table shaking in Ondo State as regards what will befall all the parties that will be going into the election after their primaries. But well, let's see how that pans out. He said, I'm the best for the election, as he displays 9 degrees on the front pages of all the national dailies, Senator Jimoh Ibrahim. Well, we wish all of them good luck. The Daily Independence, we have the story concerning the CBN recapitalization. We have it as reported on the front page. 5 lenders may seek license downgrade. That's the way the Daily Independent puts it on the front page of the paper. The Blueprint newspaper has this one. Our security agents can defeat terrorists in months. Well, we want to ask, so what's taking them this long? If that is going to happen, let it happen. Nigerians are jaded already. We need a new narrative for the peace of mind in our land. The New Telegraph has this one. It says, Kuka demands robust template for Nigeria's healing process. That was his Easter message last week in Nigeria. Last week in Nigeria, we also got the news. Discos make 1 trillion naira amid greed crisis on metered customers hit 5.8 million. And this led to a particular story that trended last week also, that has to do with the increase in the band A category of consumers of electricity in Nigeria, which was increased from above 60 naira to above 200 naira, and tongues are already wagging concerning that. But well, it has to do with the category. We are all consumers, though I don't even know the consumer category that I belong to even let me understand what is my tariff like per hour. But they said in that particular statement that it is for those who are getting 20 hours electricity supply per day and who are in that category. Which category do I belong to? I don't know. Do I enjoy 20 hours power supply daily? The answer is no. But well, that was reported last week in Nigeria. The first news has this one on the front page, and it says, EFCC vows no mercy for mega or minor thieves in anti-graft war. Above the nameplate, we have this one, Segun Olatunji. First news, secures insurance policy for editorial staff. You recall that he was whisked away by security agents, and well, we're glad that he's now back after weeks in their custody. What led to that? We don't know yet. The Matrix has this one on the front page. Labour Party crisis saga, fresh twist emerges. That's how the Matrix puts it. The Nigerian Tribune, teacher shortage in primary school hits 194,876, says UBEC. And this one from the New Telegraph, we have it. Renewed hope. Anti-corruption fight will not spare anyone. That's the EFCC chairman blowing hot. The Daily Independent has this one. NAIRA gains 660 naira on $7 billion FX backlog clearance. BDC returns. Reign of terror in Benue, Plateau, Katsina. That's the way the Daily Sun newspaper captions it. And on the front page of the same newspaper, you have the picture of Nigerian president celebrating with the newest president of Senegal. Below that picture, we have this one. Obi flags use of 10 trillion naira to service unproductive debt. That was reported last week in Nigeria. We have this one by the Business Times newspaper. DMO, latest debt report. Experts seek legislation to cut down on borrowing. CBN lending to banks grow by 447% to 21.7 trillion naira. That was reported last week in Nigeria. The first news has this one, and it says, CAN demands public apology from FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service. They made an advert that Jesus paid for your sin, so you pay your tax. And the Christian Association took an offense on that particular advertorial, saying it should be withdrawn, and they demanded a public apology. Of course, that happened last week also, as the FIRS withdrew that particular advertorial and handed a public apology based on that particular advert. It was a way of celebrating Easter for them, and they felt they could identify with Nigerians and Christians and everyone, saying that Jesus paid for your sin on the cross of Calvary, so you, why not pay your tax? But that has been a settled issue now, as reported last week in Nigeria. The Guardian newspaper has this one. 2 million households to pay 225 naira per kilowatt as prepaid meter may hit 300,000 naira. That's the way the Guardian newspaper puts it. The Nation newspaper has this one. Consumers flay electricity tariff hike without improved power supply. And for some sporting gist, as reported last week in Nigeria, we have this one. Boniface to play for 30 minutes in the match. And also another sporting gist that we have for you. Osai Samuel faces disciplinary committee for beating fan in Turkey. That was a sporting gist we had also reported by National Dailies last week. And this one, Perfect 50. Who is in the news? Plaudits for Murphy after half a century League One goals. That was reported last week in Nigeria. On the Sporting Sun, it says, Osai Samuel escapes Turkish FA ban. You recall that it was reported that he dazed one of his fans, a dirty slap, and he was going to be penalized for it. But now we are having this report, as reported last week by the Sport and Sun last week, that he has escaped the FA ban, the Turkish FA ban. Osayi Samuel, I guess your lessons must have been learned. Now for the entertainment gists, something happened last week in Nigeria. Popular cross-dresser Bobrisky was awarded the best well-dressed female at an event, and at that moment, tongues started wagging to the extent that people took to the social media and netizens started talking about this scenario that brought about Bobrisky earning an award as the best dressed female. He or she, that became a controversy and people started talking, which led to popular Zazu crooner talking about Portable, who said that must be taken down, and other celebrities also had themselves talking in the mix of all this. In fact, someone said, I will start using the female restroom if the police refuse to arrest Bobrisky for that offense. But guess what? The police spokesperson now said they can arrest him for that kind of offense because it doesn't have anything to do with the laws of the land. But in the twist of it, before the end of last week, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission came up to say, hey, Bobrisky, you're under arrest. For what? For what they called money laundering and our abuse of NAIRA. Now, we're going somewhere with this. We are beginning to ask questions, or Nigerians are beginning to ask questions, that if you are holding Bobrisky now for money laundering and NAIRA abuse, what about those who spray monies at parties? We have big celebrities who have loads of cash in their hands. How many people will EFCC be arresting in this regard? Well, that was the funny note on the entertainment gist as reported last week in Nigeria. We also believe that issues will be coming up as regards this particular story. Well, on behalf of the crew from here, my name is Emmanuel Oriowo. Appreciating you for joining me this week. Kindly join me again next week for a fresh episode of the program. Don't forget to log on to our website, www.lastweekinnigeria, and also use Last Week in Nigeria on all our socials, that is on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and not forgetting Twitter. Last Week in Nigeria. Kindly like, share, subscribe, comment, and tell your friends and neighbors on our YouTube channel. Let's do this again together next week. Happy Eid al-Fitr to all our Muslim faithful. Eid Mubarak. Bye for now.